JBNN will keep you informed. I'm Michelle Jones. Before we get into the news, please remember to like, subscribe, leave a comment, and share the news with someone today. Now on to the news. 2 bodies found in Wheelwell of JetBlue plane thought to be of Jamaicans. There is speculation that 2 bodies found in the Wheelwell of a JetBlue plane on Monday could be that of Jamaicans. According to CBS News, Broad Sheriff deputies and a medical examiner visited Fort Lauderdale Hollywood International Airport overnight after the bodies were found in the aircraft's landing gear compartment. In a statement Tuesday, JetBlue said the bodies were found during a routine inspection after the plane landed. The airline said the identities of the individuals and the circumstances surrounding all the access to the aircraft remain under investigation. Flight 1801 reportedly overnighted in Kingston after arriving from JFK, New York on Sunday, January 5. The aircraft then flew to JFK, then to Salt Lake City, Utah, then back to JFK before ending up in Fort Lauderdale. Meanwhile, Minister of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade, Camilla Johnson-Smith, says there is no immediate basis on which to conclude that the 2 people are Jamaicans. She says the government is still working to get further information to be able to provide clarity on the matter. In a statement on social media platform X on Tuesday afternoon, Johnson-Smith said, "While there is speculation regarding the nationalities of the persons found, our information to date is that this matter still remains unclear and that there is no immediate basis on which to conclude that they are Jamaicans. We therefore remain in contact with the relevant authorities and will update the public as soon as greater clarity and accuracy has been brought to bear on this tragic matter," she stated. Addressing the speculations, President of the Airports Authority of Jamaica, Audie Diedrich, said the country has submitted information on planes after they leave an airport.
When an airline send their aircraft to a country and that aircraft leave this country, we, the country or the airport, have no more knowledge or handle as to where that aircraft goes or what other route it takes up. We therefore can't comment on what happened to the aircraft after it leaves here. And we don't know if that particular aircraft in any way can be the same one that was here. We don't have the authority or the knowledge to speak to that. Only the airline can say what happened to their aircraft when it leaves one destination and goes to another.
He was at the wrong place at the wrong time, say residents. Shirley Morgan Bowen was attending a church crusade in Hayes, Clarendon on Sunday night, when gunshots rang out a short distance away. But Morgan Bowen said she was so caught up in the intense worship session that she did not hear the gunfire that sent persons at the scene scampering for cover. Neither did she realize that her son had been murdered and 3 other people injured just meters away. Deputy Superintendent of Police, DSP Owen Brown of the Maple Police Station in Clarendon, said 31-year-old Daniel Bowen was shot by men firing handguns and that the other victims were hospitalized, 2 with minor flesh wounds and 1 in serious condition. At about 8:30 p.m., the victims were reportedly among a group of people relaxing in a yard, a popular hangout spot for the men in the community, when 3 gunmen alighted from a Toyota Axion started chasing and firing at them, Brown said. Residents said Bowen, who they recalled being hardworking, fell while trying to fleece attackers, who then stood over him and shot him several times. Nonetheless, they do not believe he was the intended target. DSP Brown said that Bowen was never on the police's radar for any crimes committed in Clarendon. It's reported that one of the wounded men was listed as a person of interest by the Clarendon police. Already, 2 persons of interest have been picked up and were undergoing processing in relation to the murder and shooting up to late Monday evening. I cannot say that any conflict is going on in the area right now. We just understand that the men were on their phones scrolling when the car drove up and the men started firing, offered Brown. At the moment, we cannot say that there are any gang wars going on because we never had that intel, either before or after the incident in that area. The argument in the street is that it was at the wrong place at the wrong time, but we are still on the scene and we are carrying out investigations to see where this is coming from, Brown added. 3 wanted men nabbed in 8 days in Manchester. Less than a week into the new year, the Manchester police are reporting that over the last 8 days, intelligence-led operations have led to the capture of 3 wanted men in the parish, 2 of whom were wanted by other divisions. The first arrest was made on Friday, December 27, when 34-year-old Kemar Levy, otherwise called Twinny of Tavares, Kingston 11, and Greenvale, Mandeville in Manchester, was arrested while on a taxi in the Mandeville car park. Levy was since being charged with wounding with intent, was wanted in connection with an October 2023 shooting incident in Greenvale in the parish. According to investigators, additional charges are being considered. On New Year's Day, the Manchester police arrested 2 people doing separate operations in the parish. One of the men was wanted in the Kingston Central Division for the murder of 57-year-old Leroy Williams, of Mount View Estate in Spanish Town, St. Catherine. The second man was nabbed at a guest house in the parish, was wanted by suits in Montego Bay, St. James, in connection with a case of robbery with aggravation. The Manchester police have pledged to continue their robust operational activities in the new year and are urging wanted persons who may be in hiding in the division to turn themselves in immediately. The public is being urged to report suspicious activities or strangers in their communities by calling the Mandeville Criminal Investigations Branch at 876-961-5538 or 876-962-2832. Individuals may also call Crime Stop at 311. Woman killed in hit and run on her way to church in St. Elizabeth. The police are seeking the public's assistance in locating a suspected hit and run driver who fatally injured a woman in Santa Cruz, St. Elizabeth on Sunday. The deceased has been identified as 48-year-old Althea Gale, a street sweeper of Santa Cruz. It is understood that about 6:30 a.m., Gale was walking along the park main road to church when she was struck by a vehicle. The driver of the vehicle did not stop, and Gale died of her injuries on the spot. A relative of the deceased, Jean Hilton, said she heard the sound of the collision, but was shocked and grief-stricken to learn that the victim was Gale. "We didn't know that it was Althea. We want Althea. I don't know which one of them hit her," the distraught woman said as she tried to fight back tears.
I was in the kitchen early, Minister 6, and I hear clum, and I hear clum. When I look out, I see one car up the road and one other one over there. And then we called to my uncle, Maya. I say, Maya, go look, it look like something happened out there. And my granddaughter say his accident is lick up. I say, no, it look like them lick somebody. When we deep out, we see one car up there and the van over there. And then about 5 minutes, both of them drive off. The car first drive off. And then my uncle come in and says a young girl. He didn't know that it was Althea. We own Althea. Althea, my cousin girlfriend, was going to church, Universal Church. So then when people from up the road come, them say it's Althea because her face smashed up. My granddaughter called the police earlier before that. And when they come, realize it's Althea. We own Althea. We own Althea. Don't know which one of them Ricky.
Barbara Gale murder case moved to Kingston. Alleged killer's lawyers confirmed. The Barbara Gale murder case is to be transferred to the Home Circuit Court in Kingston, with a hearing likely for later this week. The accused killer's attorneys have also been confirmed to be Donahue Martin and King's Counsel Tom Tavares Finson. 24-year-old Travis Ellis has been charged with the December murder of the 77-year-old retired Gleaner journalist at her home in the gated community of Kimanes Estate in Greater Portmore, St. Catherine. Ellis was due to make his first appearance in court in St. Catherine on Tuesday. However, Martin says the defense was advised that the matter is to be moved from the St. Catherine Parish Court to the Home Circuit Court. That move is based on a voluntary bill of indictment tendered by the Director of Public Prosecutions. It means the case will bypass the committal proceedings in the Parish Court and allows for the matter to move faster. "It is not unusual for this to happen," Martin said on Tuesday. Martin confirmed that he and Tavares Finson are representing Ellis. The St. Catherine South Police charged Ellis with murder and robbery with aggravation on December 24. Gale's body was found with multiple stab wounds at about 11 a.m. on December 17, the police said. Paula Llewellyn expected to resume duties as DPP next week. Director of Public Prosecutions Paula Llewellyn is expected back on the job next week. That's according to her attorney Douglas Lace. Lace said the process to pave the way for a return has started. He said he met with the registrar of the Court of Appeal last week, and the certificate of result of appeal has been issued by the registrar and is submitted to the Ministry of Justice. The attorney said the Justice Ministry is expected to submit the document to the Public Services Commission for that body to give the green light for Llewellyn to return to her post. The appeal court ruled last month that Llewellyn should remain in the position of director, following legal questions about her appointment as the country's chief prosecutor. In April, the government filed an appeal challenging the ruling by the Constitutional Court, which struck down aspects of the controversial constitutional amendments that facilitated an extension of Llewellyn's tenure as DPP. Llewellyn had stepped aside from her post in April last year to await the outcome of the legal challenge. Senior Deputy Director of Public Prosecutions Claudia Thompson has been acting as Chief Prosecutor. 5 road deaths in first 5 days of the year spark concern. Vice Chairman of the National Road Safety Council, Dr. Lucian Jones, has voiced concern over what he says is the alarming number of fatalities on the roads since the start of the year. 5 people have lost their lives in road accidents in the first 5 days. They include 2 pedestrians, 1 pedal cyclist, 1 pillion passenger, and a private motor car driver. The fatal accidents happened in St. James, Hanover, Westmoreland, St. Andrew, and St. Mary. This is not a good start. This is not the start that we're hoping for, to try and ambitiously reduce the number of people dying in 2025 to 20% less than 2024, Jones said. A total of 364 people died on the country's roadways in 2024, the lowest in 7 years, according to official data. Jamaica recorded over 400 road deaths for each calendar year from 2019 to 2023, including the historic 488 deaths in 2022. Emphasizing the urgent need to tackle the escalating number of road fatalities before they spiral completely out of control, Jones revealed that 4 meetings have been requested with the government. He said these discussions will focus on enhancing the capacity of the National Road Safety Council, addressing issues related to motorcyclists, and improving safety for pedestrians. According to Jones, motorcyclists and pedestrians constitute the biggest problem we have on our roads. He also pointed to reports of people continuing to use their cell phones while driving, as well as incidents of drinking and driving. Additionally, he expressed concern over reckless overtaking and motorcyclists not wearing helmets. We're trying to mobilize the entire country, both the government and the private sector, to provide the National Road Safety Council with the resources, human capacity and financial resources that we need to fulfill our ambition to once again organize as a nation that we can have at the end another 20% reduction in the second leading cause of violent death in the country, he said. Your birth certificate is an essential document that proves your identity, citizenship as well as age. It is also required for many life events and services. Sometimes you may need to change your child's name or add a parent's name to it. Let's look at some of the things you need to be aware of.
For children whose father's name is not on their birth certificate, what we find is that for legal purposes, persons want inheritance. Most times we need proof of paternity. And which other way would you show that John Brown is the father of this child if his name is not on the birth certificate? It makes it much more difficult when they are supposed to be probating the will.
So my name is not on my child's birth certificate. How could I add it?
Well, there are 3 means by which a father's name can be added to a child's birth record. One is that he signs at the time of the registration. So if the registration is done at the hospital today, he visits the hospital to sign within the window of the mother being there and signs. Now, if it's a case where the father is not available, or he's out of Ireland, or he's otherwise engaged, then the other means by which he can add his name is by what we call a Form E. Now, this document is signed by both parents in the presence of the Justice of the Peace, and they would have submitted their IDs along with the form once it is signed. This form, though, is valid for 42 days, and it's 42 days from the date of registration. After 42 days, the form is not valid.
But my child is already 1 year old. That time has well passed. What can I do?
The next means by which the name can be added is by what we call a status form. Now, this form is utilized once the child is over 6 weeks old. Once the child is over this time frame, what it means is that you'd have to complete the status form, have it signed in the presence of the Justice of the Peace. Both parents would submit their IDs, and the father would have submitted his birth certificate. There's a cost attached to this service once a child is over 6 weeks.
I'm a full-blown adult. My father is 1 foot in the grave. Can I still add him to my birth certificate?
There are no restrictions to what time frame you can add in. If the child is 100 and the father is still alive, then of course he can send the status form in order to add his name to the child's birth record. If the father is deceased, then it makes it a little bit more complicated because he's not here to sign. He's not here to vouch to say that he's actually the father of this child. So with that, you'd have to go through the court do the necessary documentations in terms of affidavit and all that in order to add the father's name to the child's birth record.
My situation is a bit different. My daughter now lives overseas, but it is something that I've always wanted to do. Is it still possible?
If the child is overseas, then it would not affect the processing of that application because the requisite documents really involves the parents. So once the mother is here in the island, she can sign, and if she's not in the island, then the form is on our website. It can be pulled down, printed, completed in the presence of a notary public, and then the original is sent to us or to the applicant who will be applying for the birth certificate. Now, bear in mind that when you're adding the father's name to the child's birth record, is what we call a record updating activity. So, if it's not the child or the mother who's coming to do this application, the application should accompany a permission letter.
RGD register my son wrong and give him another man name. I need for them correct that. So how that I go?
Once it affects the child's identity in terms of who they really are, like a brown to a gray, that changes a little drastic. So of course, you know, you'd have to go through the court where DNA would have been ordered to prove the true paternity of the child, and then a court order is sent to the RGD to do the necessary changes to the birth record or to create a new birth record depending on what is ordered by the court.
My baby mother no stop go on me. Every time me tell her to add me name, it's a different issue. What me fi do?
In adding the father's particulars to the child birth record really requires the consent of both parents. So there is no two ways about it. Because only these two people can tell that, yes, I am the parent or parents of this child or children. Now, if it's a case where one parent is not consenting to adding the particulars of the father, or the mother is not consenting to adding the particulars to the child's birth record, there's not much that the RGD can do in terms of pursuing this application, because the requirement is that both of them have to sign. So mommy has to say, yes, this man is the father of the child, and this man acknowledge that, yes, I am the father of the child. Only in that way that the father's particulars can be really added to the child's birth record, because it's a declaration that you're making to say that, yes, we are the parents of this child or children.
My name is on my child's birth certificate, but the spelling is incorrect. How can I fix that?
It depends on the variation of the name. If it's a case where the father can substantiate that the name should have been spelled this way by using his birth certificate and other proof, then the RGD can treat it as a clerical error. So we first have to determine what is the name and what is the name that you require, and what evidence do you have to support the name that you really want. We've had instances where mothers show up at the hospital with more than one daddy, and we find that the truth always comes out when questions are being asked. Now, whether there is one gentleman for the KFC, one for the Burger King, one for the rent and the other miscellaneous stuff, make sure that the name that is being added to the record is the biological father of the child. So I always encourage mothers, do it right the first time, because in correcting this error, it is a very tedious process. It has to go through the court. You can't just write John Brown and then you come back to say, no, it's not John Brown, it is Tom Stokes, and we just take the pen and pass out John Brown. Cannot be done like that. It has to go through the court where there has to be proof of who the biological father of the child is, and the only way you can determine that is through a DNA, which is quite expensive. So I usually encourage our mothers to do it right the first time.
JBN will keep you informed. Please remember to subscribe, like, share, leave us a comment, and click the notification bell to receive our daily news items.